This is Capital Views, and I'm Mike Bradner, and with me is Kathie Wasserman, the Executive Director of the Alaska Municipal League. And Kathie, let me mention a publication that is a real source of information for local governments, but a lot of people aren't aware of Alaska Taxable. So tell us about that.
Alaska Taxable is put out by DCCED, and that has every bit of debt, taxation, any taxation that any municipality levies, how much they take in, what their population is, the ratios. It is such a valuable book, and I know there are many state employees who deal in those sorts of things, or legislators who don't have a clue. It should be on every one of their book files.
And I think years ago it was. I mean, we looked at that as a source of information, and you got a perspective of rural Alaska, and it'll tell you, who's paying what and
Yes.
who maybe isn't paying much.
Yes.
And the unorganized borough gives you a good perception of communities
Right.
that don't have taxability.
Right.
And so, I mean, you just go online and you just type in Alaska Taxable.
Right, and it'll come up. You can print it out. It's quite a few pages, 70, 80 pages, but you can just browse through it or print. I have a printed copy because I go through it all the time. And then there's a supplement as well, which has some additional things, because especially today, that Alaska Taxable book is changing a lot because now that municipalities have been cut on revenue sharing, they're having to implement more taxes. So the taxes are changing in a faster
And one thing
rate.
it shows is municipal debt, per
Yes.
capita debt.
Yes.
Sort of, and in many cases it reflects who is able to debt.
It can give you a good idea of what kind of shape a municipality is in, whether it's of their own volition or just things that have happened to them or their location or whatever. But yeah, to read through those things gives you a very good idea of who's who and what's going on.
And sort of it's a cut that shows you who needs assistance if they're going to do deferred maintenance, which is a serious problem.
Deferred maintenance is huge. I mean, people's schools are leaking, and it's all about quality of life. Do you want to send your kids to a school with buckets all over? And it takes a certain amount of energy just to take care of those issues. So we're taking some education that is probably lacking a bit in the small communities anyway, and making it even harder to deliver that education when the buildings and the maintenance.
Something in some small communities that isn't present in urban areas is often as a community wash house.
You bet.
That's the center of a community,
Of everything.
and the most efficient thing, to do. And, they get it in poor shape, but that's not something that legislators are usually familiar with dealing with.
No, they aren't. And I've always looked for a way to get some of those legislators out to those communities, but because of APOC rules, I can't do that. I can't pay for them to go out. I think it would be a great thing to fly them out to some of those communities. Let them stay for a day or two and see what it's like living in some of the smaller communities. Just like people in Anchorage and Fairbanks and Juneau, those people want to improve their lives, and just like we do.
And I think people from rural Alaska, they come to Anchorage and Juneau and Ketchikan, and they're familiar because they have relatives who live there. In a way, they become familiar with the urban area, but it's very difficult for somebody from the urban area to gain experience in rural Alaska. You have to have a reason to go there.
You do, and it's because it's not easy to get out there. I mean, even myself going home to Pelican, it's not easy to get out there, and then if I do get out, I'm always worried I'm not going to be able to get
That's
back
right,
to Juneau.
yeah.
So there's always that. It's very expensive to travel to the smaller communities. But we do need to figure out a way, especially now that we have so many legislators from the Anchorage Bowl, and we need to have them see what the rest of Alaska is really like.
The representation has really changed. I mean, at statehood, we were able to have a legislator from Barrow, Northwest, from Nome, from Bethel. pretty well represented the communities across Alaska. And now I think we have 4 legislators and 2 senators from the westward. And another perspective, that's a big market that flies out of Anchorage.
It is. Years ago, I was mayor of another small community in the state of Alaska, and I came up to Juneau to lobby my new legislator, and he'd never heard of my community, and he didn't even know it was in his district. So I thought, ooh, this is not good.
Not good. And that's you sort of wonder if we could find a way of assisting legislators to visit their own state. And that's not easy if you're representing right here in Juneau to Hoona or Pelican or wherever to get a perspective. And maybe that should be a goal, that it's not a big issue, but
when the Anchorage legislators or I understand Anchorage has got some huge maintenance problems and infrastructure problems that they need to solve, huge. But when I hear a legislator say something about, the potholes aren't too bad in the community, so they're doing pretty well. Yeah. You should be so lucky to have a pothole if you live in Scammon Bay or whatever.
We're out of time again, and it's wonderful to talk to you. And this is Capital Views, and I'm Mike Bradner.